Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Old Bridge Town Council October 21st, 2019 council meeting to order. Please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for tonight, a special song and a celebration and our prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now tonight, I'm very proud to present the Old Bridge Cultural Arts Committee. We present Voices of Old Bridge. This program is sponsored in part by a grant awarded by the Middlesex County Board of Freeholders through a grant awarded from the Middlesex County Cultural Arts Trust Fund. Tonight, the Cultural Arts Committee is here as well, and we're very proud. Congratulations, and thank you very much for coming this evening. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Thank you all very much. That was absolutely beautiful. We look forward to hearing more from the Voices of Old Bridge. Thank you so much. We now would like to have a moment of silence, please. As it's customary in this chamber, we stand to remember those who are fighting for our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Our prayer, Mr. Pasquini.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear thy voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that we have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and one another. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated.
Okay. This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting has been posted in the newspaper, and notice has been posted in public places, Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, November 18, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Cahill?
Here.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Here.
Merwin? No. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, here.
Mr. Pescetti?
Here.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
President Soho?
Here.
8 present.
Good evening, everyone. First, we'll be doing presentations. The first one will be Auditor Bob Allison on Audit 2019. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me here. A little late this year in coming in. We usually come in much earlier, but similar to a couple of years ago, there was some information that the state needed to get out to auditors, which was the liability of other post-employment benefits. They didn't give that information out until late August, and so we filed the audit quite soon after that, and this is with the first opportunity to come before you. I'd like to announce again, very, very, very happy and proud to let you know that once again you have a clean, unmodified opinion with regard to New Jersey accounting standards. We have no comments and recommendations. The town is very well run and very stable, and I say that because the one thing that that really caught my eye was your surplus or fund balance in the general fund. And that is at, right now, is about $9.9 million, which is about 18% of your budget, which is a healthy but not overly healthy amount. It's exactly in the range that the bond rating agencies would like to see. And you've been very stable. 2 years ago, you were at 9.5 million. Now you're at 9.6. Now you're at 9.9. So it's showing great stability and with some very modest increases. And then again, as I said, that your surplus is about 18% of your budget, which is a sweet spot that the bond rating agencies like to see. And that was proven in our bond sale that we had in April. We received the best rating that a town could get, just below AAA. And I think we also recently had a band sale, which resulted in extraordinary low interest rate, correct?
Yes. Yep, we've been getting almost AAA rates on all of our debt that we issue, which helps keep that expenses stable on all our capital projects.
Right. Well, check one thing here. Our overall debt, how much, is about how much now? Few million, right? Okay, so our overall debt right now is somewhere between in the mid 30 millions. So let's just say 35 million. So every percentage point that we would have to pay in interest would be about $350,000. And if we were not rated as well as we are, I would say that we could be as high as 2% more than the kind of rates that we're getting now. And that's a great savings to the taxpayers, and we can save about $700,000 in interest. And that's and just a testament to how well it's run here, and how well it's respected by the people who buy the bonds. Your other operating companies or utilities would be the arena. And the arena always has a bit of a shortfall, but the shortfall in 18 was less than the shortfall in 17, so that's also trending in the right direction. And the parking utility also saw a modest increase in their surplus, and they are operating at a good pace. Besides the regular audit of the financial statements, we also have to give a report on internal controls and compliance over the financial statements. And we don't give an opinion on that, but we do perform certain tests, and we consider both. And with regard to the overall finances, we found no problems with internal control or compliance. Because you receive a good amount of grants, there's something else called the single audit. And you receive over $750,000 of state grants, and that's an audit within an audit, so to speak. So we need to look at your grants and do an analysis as to which grants to test. And this year it was the New Jersey Department of Transportation grants. That information is found in the back of the audit report. And again, we have to give an opinion on those financials, and we have to give an opinion on whether the controls or the compliance with the grant requirements are in place. And again, they were. We found no problems with regard to that. So it's another year of good news, and I'll accept answer any questions anybody might have.
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
the copy of the audit report was distributed by clerk's office earlier. As Bob indicated, there is no comments and recommendation. The resolution that you require to pass is to indicate that you have reviewed the comments and recommendation. The financial statements are the financial statements. They didn't change much from our unaudited financial statement that we presented along with the budget.
Anyone from the council wish to ask a question? Mr. Pasquetti?
Hi, thanks for coming. Could you tell us what specifically is, even though we have an excellent credit rating, AA+, which is the best you can under AAA, and we are getting AAA rates in our bonds,
Right.
which is saving the taxpayers tremendous amount of money. Just in my mind, as like a statute, AAA is so much nicer to say than a AA plus.
You want my opinion on
Preventing
why you're not
us-
AAA?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would say that, that they look at the demographics, so they look at the average, one of the points of the star that they look at is the average household income. And so, even though you could be extremely well-run, great surplus, great stability, they still look at the pocketbook and they'll say, okay, the average home in this town is earning $150,000 a year, and the average home in this town is earning $300,000. So the one with the $300,000, everything else being equal, will get the AAA rating.
Thank you very much.
If I may, I wish it was a really a presentation of how you run the town, how you manage your budget, but it is not. And I.
Well, it's part of it. It is part of it.
It's part of it, but
Right.
it's not the whole thing is not depends on that.
Right.
And so we have always, strive for that, and we continue to strive for that. And I think the credit obviously goes to the council, because you pass the budget. Every year you pass those budget, and you look at our financials, and you support the administration's efforts in maintaining those fund balance and the reserve that is necessary to have a stability so it's all over efforts by everybody, administration and council together, that allows us to have a strong rating and the savings that we achieve.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that you have done everything you can do within your power to get that AAA rating. I just think there are other factors out there outside of your control. And I have clients who are similar to you in a lot of ways, and they don't come near a AAA. They don't come near the rating you have, because you do all the other things that give you a very strong rating. And as you said, you're just about getting a AAA rate anyway, or the results of the sale is coming in, and the difference is negligible.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes, I think having a AA plus bond rating speaks for itself on the efforts that the administration did, along with the council, that this town is in great financial situation, that we've been able to do so many infrastructure projects, and what people have to realize, that it costs us less to do them. The interest rate is minimal. I know it has helped the MUA to go ahead and do their projects also. They just, redid in Knowlcroft section of Cliffwood Beach, a major project. And that is why the water company is very good too, because of the bond rating here. They're able to maintain their infrastructure. And it's not easy, 42 square miles, and when there's, an aging infrastructure, and you have to keep it up. And what we've done with the buildings in this town, the roads, the curbings, the drainage, it is evident wherever I go, people are saying all the time that it's visual, the improvements that have been made in the town. And I commend you on all the efforts to have a AA bond rating. It is significant, and a lot of people don't realize what that means. But that means the town as a whole, we're in great financial situation, and I'm so glad to hear it from the audit, and to see that we have an audit that really didn't have any comments that, on how to improve, that we are heading consistently in the right direction, and it's very positive.
Yeah, I think you make
Thank
a good
you.
point about how the town is kind of lifting all boats within town. So the MUA certainly benefits. If your rating was less, there's nothing they could do to make them stronger if the underlying base is not strong. So you actually raise the boats of other people in town.
Yeah, it's a joint effort. It's felt throughout the whole town that people are working together, and a lot of things are getting done to make this the good quality of life town that we all wish to live in. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? On my left, anyone? No? Okay, seeing no hands, then I will also thank you for coming this evening and,
No, thank you.
and taking the time to disseminate all the information to us. And again, I just want to reiterate for the public that from what I'm hearing that it's been a trending kind of a plan, and that each year we said we would build on it and we would improve. And from what you've said this evening,
Doing that.
we are doing that. So I think that's what was promised and what we have come a long way in making that happen. So thank you again, and I'd like to thank all my co-counsel, administration, everyone that worked on the budgets all these years, and that we really are turning the corner and being successful.
You have a very strong administration, very strong finance department.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, our next one will be the introduction of the new library director, Michael Babish. Good evening and welcome. Very pleased to have you here.
Can you tell this is my first one?
No worries at all. Welcome.
Long time coming.
So I first want to just start off by saying thank you so much to Administrator Shaw for getting me on a packed agenda on short notice. I also want to thank the Library Board and Mayor Henry for an opportunity to serve such a wonderful town. It's a dream for me to be a library director in a place like this. I've only been on the job for about a week now. I've had so many residents reach out to me in person, via email, just to wish me well and to say how much they love their library. I believe a library represents a township, and it represents its residents. And this library, besides having a baseline of excellence, which has always been there, has a spirit of innovation as well. They have a cutting-edge makerspace. They do high-interest youth programming, things for adults, the second Saturday concert series, and I'm looking forward to growing that tradition and strengthening it. Likewise, I wanted to introduce myself to you folks, and also to all the residents, to let you know that I believe in good change. I believe in pushing places forward. And if you have any suggestions for me or for the staff as to what you'd like to see, please don't hesitate to share those.
Anyone? Comment? Questions? Anybody? Comments or questions? Mr. Pescitti?
I just want to welcome you to Old Bridge, and good luck with everything.
Thank you folks so much.
Anyone else? Mrs. Walker?
I just want to welcome you. We have an amazing library.
Yep. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, welcome, and I hope you have a long and good relationship here in Old Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Best wishes,
Yeah.
good health.
Next presentation will be recognition to DuPont for their $27,500 donation to Old Bridge Parks and Recreation. Good evening.
Hi, guys. How are you? My name is Matt Mercurio. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Social Services. Up here with me tonight, I have Jason Galinsky from DuPont, Anahita Feltz from the Silver Linings, our manager there, and Mayor Owen Henry. I want to thank Mayor Owen Henry, Himanshu Shah, and all the council for giving us a couple minutes to go over our quick presentation on our new partnership that we have here with DuPont. A quick introduction. Partnership was established between the Township, Old Bridge, and DuPont through community outreach and funding opportunities. The key Township employees who were involved were Mayor Owen Henry, Business Administrator and CFO Himanshu Shah, myself, Matt Mercurio, the Director of Parks and Recreation, and Anahita Feltz, our manager of our Silver Linings at Old Bridge and the Old Bridge Food Bank. The key DuPont staff that were involved were Jason, who's sitting next to me, the Parlin Plant Manager, William O'Connor, Parlin Site Unit Manager, and the Parlin Site Community Team, which we have some of them in attendance here tonight, which include Anna Fusco, Kathy Hoffman, David Krakowski, Stephen Liberty, Iris Mann, Catherine Mistretta, Paul Poltrixi, and Nicole Reinhold. The partnership began with a series of meetings over the summer. Myself and Anna went out to DuPont and met with their team members on their site, and then we kind of had a quick tour the Old Bridge of some of our parks and recreation, of our building, of the Silver Linings building, the food bank, and some of our various sites at some of our parks and facilities. After that, we submitted a proposal for possible funding opportunities and submitted that to DuPont. which included possible funding opportunities for some parks and recreation programs, the ice arena, Silver Linings, Camp Robin, and the Old Bridge Food Bank. And as you can see by all the logos that are on the bottom, this is a lot of departments within departments all working with each other. And now I'll kick it over to Jason, and he can give us some information on the DuPont Parlin site.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you for everyone for having us here today. I did want to spend just maybe 1 minute giving a little bit of an overview of DuPont, where we stand in the community, and a little bit of history, if you're not aware. So the Parlin site, which is on Cheesequake Road, not far from here, is actually the oldest continuous operating DuPont site in the world. So it's been operating for 115 years in Parlin, which is right on the border of Old Bridge and Sayreville, and it continues to operate strongly today. It consists, and you can see on the screen, of 3 separate DuPont electronics and imaging plants. It also has 4 tenants on site. So we have Chemours on site. We have a large solar panel array where we feed back into the grid with a tenant Tangent Solar. We have another business, IST, Industrial Summit Technologies, on site, along with a GE Peak Power Plant on site, which leases property. So the site is going strong. It sits on about 350 acres. It's a large campus, and it continues to grow, which is good news for the community. The other thing I wanted to mention is really the reason that we're investing in the community more and more over these years is really to focus on the core values of DuPont. And you could see the number one, first one is respect for people. And that really ties to how we are invested in diversity and inclusion, how we're invested in the community, and how we're really invested in recognition for the people that live in these communities. And a large portion of the people that work at DuPont live in Old Bridge and Sayreville. And so we want to make sure we're representing those communities well from the company's perspective. We also have core values around health and safety, and that's the health and safety and how it's represented out in the community, and that's some of the things that you'll see where we're looking at investing in the health and safety of Old Bridge. Along with protecting our planet, and what we can do in the parks and recreation space is going to be important, and looking forward to continued future investment to help with that. And then the last one is around ethical compliance, and that's really just the foundation that DuPont represents, and just making sure that we continue to have ethical values, and we center that around what we do. So that is really what the company stands for today. We continue to grow in the community, and we look forward to the partnership.
Thank you very much.
So now we'll continue on to talk about some of the areas that we were lucky enough to get funded. For some of you who know, or most people know, Camp Robin's a community-based year-round therapeutic recreation program. It's run through the Old Bridge Township Parks and Rec Department. Camp Robin serves individuals with disabilities from Old Bridge and surrounding towns, ages 3 through adults. Program includes seasonal programming such as basketball, computer enrichment programs, therapeutic programs, summer camps, Friday night programs, and adults, teens during the fall, spring, and summer seasons, on top of our very successful Special Olympics teams that go and not only compete, but come back with a bunch of medals. This year, DuPont has generously donated $7,500 to Camp Robin. The $7,500 donation has already gone towards 10 new computer chairs, a new dishwasher. They paid for all the transportation for our fall Friday night team program, which meant that the individuals that were coming were only paying for wherever we were going. They were not going to have to pay for any transportation during the fall session. They also sponsored our first night of our fall session, which was 2 weeks ago. We had the team program, and they sponsored our game truck, our bingo, our arts and crafts, and our ice cream social. And on top of giving us the $7,500, we had a good group of their community team came out that night, and I think they had a lot of fun playing bingo, playing in the game truck, and serving some of the ice cream. I think they had just as much fun as our participants did that night. So that's the funding that we were able to get for Camp Robin. These are some of the pictures that were taken that night. You can't really see the sign behind it, but the sign behind it is there for the entire session, and it says that transportation has been provided by DuPont. That's, all of us in here. We have Pete Piro, our manager of our Camp Robin facility, and two of his leaders. Ulrich is up there in the back, and she's up on the right. And then on the bottom, I think that's Paul down there serving ice cream up top, and then everybody else down there. It was a really fun night, and seeing, just the look on the parents' face when they're walking through that door on the first night, how excited they are and how much they say, my kid's been waiting for this all summer. They couldn't wait. They said, Camp Robin starts again. Camp Robin starts again. So I think that just shows why we do what we do here. Our second project that was able to get funded by DuPont is going to be at our Old Bridge Township John Piccolo Ice Arena. Some of the things that are offered at the ice arena include over 100 basic skills ice skating lessons. We have industrial hockey clinics through a partnership with the New York Rangers. We have our Junior Knights Youth Hockey League and Youth Hockey Program. We have our veteran skating sessions through a partnership with Operation Beachhead. We have our 40 to 50 school day trips on top of our always popular, ever since I was a kid, Friday night open public skates. Some of the recent improvements that have gone on in the arena have been, we've updated our ceilings, we dedicated a girls-only locker room at the facility, we updated our fireplace, as well as our arenaing floors and walls. And really what's going to all put it together now is DuPont has donated $15,000 for us to purchase a new scoreboard. That scoreboard will arrive in late October and will be installed in early November, and we will be doing a ribbon cutting out at our arena. And then I'll kick it over to Anna, and she'll talk about the food bank.
Thank you. So food bank services for Old Bridge residents are available on by appointment rather. We service over 500 residents monthly, and the food bank is run by 15 very dedicated volunteers. We're already getting ready for Thanksgiving and have been doing so for the last 3 weeks already. This year's yearly Thanksgiving distribution, we will need about 175 baskets, which is quite a bit. So DuPont has graciously stepped in to help us meet the needs of our clients this Thanksgiving by sponsoring 100 of those baskets with their $5,000 donations. As you know from the presentation that I did last year, each basket costs roughly about $50 to put together, so they're going to be sponsoring about 100 of them, and they're also actually going to come out on the day of our distribution to come and volunteer and helping us give out those baskets. So this is a really great donation that we've received from DuPont, and we look forward to continue working with them.
And now at this point, DuPont has the checks, so the first presentation that we will give will be to Pete Piro and Camp Robin. Pete, if you can still please come up. I'll be taking the next check for the ice arena for the $15,000 for the scoreboard. And now Anna will be coming up and getting a check for the food bank. And Mayor Henry?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. A certificate of recognition, we give this little piece of paper for all that money they just donated. We are not cheap. But I just want you to know our heartfelt thank you for what you've done. Presented to DuPont Electronics and Imaging for your generosity to the Township of Old Bridge, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Social Services, Mayor Owen Henry. And on behalf of the entire township, thank you.
course.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Making difference
in Yes. lives, Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Oh,
We have another presentation.
I think you want to say something.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, John. Oh. Okay. Our next presentation is Veteran-Friendly Municipality Program. Good evening.
Council President, the Veterans-Friendly Municipal Program, I was approached by Peter Lupo of Veterans Friendly Chamber of Commerce. And I think after talking to him and Mayor, and I discussed that, and I thought this is a great opportunity, it's a great idea. Obviously, we wanted to bring it to the council. Ultimately, council will have to pass actions once the program is reviewed by our attorney and made recommendations that will bring it back to the council for action item. But I wanted to give Peter Lupo an opportunity to approach and explain the program in detail to the council.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Just first of all, I want to thank Administrator Shaw and Mayor Henry for having me here last minute. I crashed his office about a week ago with this, and he was very gracious to take me at the very last minute. So I am Peter Lupo. I'm a veteran of Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns. I am the Vice President of... So I just got back in August. I spent a year in Kabul, so I'm just recently back. But I am now the Vice President of Legislative Outreach and Public Affairs for the New Jersey Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We're a relatively new organization. We've been getting townships on board with the new concept. We have an initiative. It's called the Veterans Friendly Municipal Certification Program that we have. And to give you kind of a very brief outline of what we're looking for, we ask of municipalities. I'll give you, first what we're asking for, and I'll give you a little context and tell you why we're asking for it. The first is that we're seeking 3 spots in municipal parking spaces for veterans and for Gold Star family members. So it would be a simple sign just said simply, please save a spot for a veteran or Gold Star family member. Gold Star family members, as you may know, are members of the military who've lost their spouses or son or daughter in combat. So that's the first thing we ask for. The second thing we request is a 5% targeted goal, just a goal of hiring 5% of your municipal workforce with veterans. The third thing we ask for is a 6% set aside for veteran-owned businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. So that's something that's allowed under the New Jersey State Local Public Contract Law. That's an authorized permissive set aside. We're requesting that. And the fourth thing we ask for is that you give us notification of upcoming bids so we could tell our roughly few thousand members of upcoming bids. So those are the 4 things we're requesting. I think they're relatively modest. And I know this is a township that has a great commitment to the veteran community. I wanted to thank you also for the moment of silence and reflection that you had at the opening for first responders and for members of the military, our sons and daughters that are serving. It was very touching to know that people do care, So a little context about why we're seeking this type of certification from the municipality. The first is what people may not be aware of is that when people mobilize, or you're a National Guard or the Reserve, you pick up and leave your families, and your businesses for a year and a half. So I was gone for a year and a half, and a lot of my friends in the Reserve National Guard have businesses. They're mom and pop shops, and when they leave, it pretty much means the business shuts, the doors. If you have a landscaping company and you're running it yourself, that means for a year and a half, it's not operating. And weeds still grow, grass still grows, people need shrubs installed, planted. So people go to other businesses. So when they come back, they find that they have no more economic viability. They're starting from scratch in many cases. This set aside, the 6% that we're requesting, would help quite a bit with getting veterans back on their feet. Some of the big things that contribute to depression and suicide for veterans is not feeling like they're members of the community, not be able to be financially viable to contribute. So this would help a lot, the 6% set aside. The 5% targeted goal of hiring veterans, and you guys probably meet this already, I imagine, with Mr. Mayor, would also help getting veterans onto the workforce, getting them jobs. So for those reasons, we're seeking ratification or for this type of initiative. Another thing that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of is spouses, military spouses, as compared to the U.S. population that have an unemployment rate of 27%. In the United States, we're very blessed right now to have a 3.7% unemployment rate. We're one of the historic lows in the last 50 years. But veteran and military communities have a 27% unemployment rate for many reasons, constantly moving, shifting around, deployments. It's very difficult to create a business. So for those reasons, I hope to get your support on passing of this resolution. If you have any questions, I'm happy to field it if you have any questions regarding the initiative.
Could you just explain the 6% set aside you talked about as it pertains to the small business? I just want to be clear about that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So the New Jersey public land contract law allows for it, and what it means is that you'll make a good faith effort, one, to give us notification of upcoming bids and RFPs. And that
okay, I got it. Yep.
There's a good faith effort, and then we have, if any veteran, it has to be competitive, so obviously we can't be 150% above a normal bidder, so we have to be competitive with everyone else. And we'd like to get 6% of any business where it's practical. For example, you're bidding out for a fire truck, you can't give us 6% of one truck if someone comes in lower, so we're practical.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council? Questions, comments? Okay, good. All right, well, thank you very much.
I just want to say, I think it's a wonderful initiative, long overdue, well needed, and I'm sure we'll be on board to help in any way that we can.
Thank you, Dr. Greenberg.
Anyone else for comment? Thank you, I agree. I think this is a very good initiative, very positive, and our town is very veteran-friendly. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for your service, and stay for the presentation.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Murphy.
I'd like to say something
Sure.
about the last speaker.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to thank you once again, Matt, for going above and beyond the call of duty. You've done a great job with that, and you did what you always do. You don't take all the credit. You make your supervisors look great, and I want to thank you for being all that and being a homegrown old Bridgian. And I'd like you to thank DuPont for everything they did, not just me, the council, and the town. Thank them for every bit of donation they did. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. All right. Next presentation will be Stride and Ride. Good evening, Rosemary. Yep, please, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, President Sohor.
Lost their lives.
Thank you to the council, and thank you to the residents for giving me this moment to speak to you regarding Stride and Ride, which is actually part of an organization called Give to Those. Give to Those is a not-for-profit organization that was started up in Boston, Massachusetts. Its founder is by a woman by the name of Heather Viveros. She's an amazing woman. Her goal was to bridge the gap between civilians and military and first responders, as well as our veterans and their families. And this vision has turned into her passion, which has affected positive movements from Boston all the way down and across the country. Heather reached out to us last year that they were coming through. What Stride and Ride Relay, what Give to Those does is they host an annual event called the Stride and Ride Relay. And what the relay does is they carry an American flag with over 10,500 photographs of men, women, and children who perished on 9/11. those that were killed and as in active duty, our veterans that have passed, those who've been afflicted with the invisible wounds of war. They pay tribute to them, carrying them in this American flag, and they go 911 miles, starting in Logan's Boston Airport, where the first plane had hit, and they travel with a tactical team. And this tactical team is made up of Gold Star families. It's made up of veterans, active military, and civilians. And they travel, rucking with the bags of those soldiers that have lost their lives with cement in their boots and different things that are special and poignant to the men and women that we've lost who've served this country. They run, they cycle, they drive, they sleep out in all different elements of weather. They sacrifice the way our men and women sacrifice. They come, they travel through, and as they plot their plan, they stop at different municipalities, VFWs, and different places of interest, memorials, to pay tribute to those men and women who have lost their lives. When they get to Old Bridge, first they stop, and they come every year because they want to make sure on October 7th they're in Ground Zero, because it's very poignant to them, because that's the day they deployed out troops. They then come to us on October 8th to pay honor and tribute to our men and women that we've lost. This year they came, and it was no different. It was amazing what they've done. They've been part of our community now since last year with the Mayor's inaugural 5K. We've raised money for our veterans, first responders, and their families as well. We've been helping those in our community. I'm so excited to have heard this last presentation, because this is what Give to Those is all about. It's really about helping and bridging gaps and taking from different communities, because there are no borders between our communities. We're all one. So without further ado, I would just like to call your attention to the screens for a brief presentation as to the ceremony that we had here last week with Stride and Ride Relay, which is Give to Those.
Less than a month ago, we stood here and we paid honor and tribute to those from Old Bridge who lost their lives on 9/11. Today we have an organization in town visiting many towns in 9/11 memorials and letting us know we are not alone. And this morning, many nice things were said about Old Bridge and our community at the Grade 9 Center. But let me tell you that Old Bridge is a better community today because of your presence. Your commitment, dedication, and love for our country and all those who have lost their lives in defense of our country and on 9/11, let me say, is second to none. And as I said, Old Bridge is a better place today, and it will be tomorrow because of you and your organization.
We've made it our mission to pay tribute to those who stepped up so willingly to serve, be that voice and that hero for those 2,977 lives that were lost that very day. To be those heroes of those who are losing their lives each and every day, from our first responders to our civilians who are at ground zero. And to be the heroes of those they never met, yet they love this country and this nation so much they are so willing to sacrifice their life. Because we make it our mission to be that line that never truly finishes. To be their dreams and their hopes and their voice. But it couldn't happen without not only townships like you all who come together and support us, but it couldn't be without the people standing behind me. Uniting together, each stage, each step, each stride at a time.
On behalf of Stride and Ride, to the citizens of Old Bridge, for the citizens that you lost, it is our dubious honor to present you with a Stride and Ride Give to Those exclusive. This is for the council and the residents.
Less than a month ago,
So here before us is the plaque that they donated to our township, and it's in honor of our 15 men and women that we've lost on September 11th.
Council, I'd just like to say a few words, and they're difficult. I was presented with this on behalf of all the 15 residents that we lost. And he also honored an Old Bridge resident who lost his life in the battle against terrorism, Mr. Skip Kitchen. His a spokesman for his family was there and received a nice award and recognition. So on behalf of Stride and Ride, I present this to the Township of Old Bridge. It's going to be hung in the hallway with Skip Kitchen's picture above it, amongst all the soldiers and people that are fighting the war on terror to defend us, so that we can meet here on Monday nights. So thank you.
I would just like to invite everyone, if you could please take a moment when you have a chance, go online, look up Give to Those. It's give, the number 2, and then those.org. Please take a look at this organization, all the amazing things that they do. More importantly, if you have time to donate, time, services, financial, whatever it is that you want to do, I want everyone to know that every penny stays with the cause. And the cause is to make sure that those family members and those veterans and those active military who are in need get that money. So everything goes to the cause and stays with the cause. So if you have time to donate anything, please just take a look and see how amazing they are. Follow them on Facebook in their journey. At the end of that 911-mile relay that they did, I just want you to know they opened up that American flag. They took out the photographs of all those men, women, and children, and they read each name. Because it is said that we die twice, when we take our last breath and the last time somebody says your name. So they make sure that they continuously say everyone's names so no one is ever forgotten. So all those who've served, thank you for your service. For anyone who is in need, if you know of any loved one, family, friend that is in any kind of need, this is the organization that can lend a hand. So please reach out. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next will be our proclamation certificates. Proclamation for the Old Bridge Police Department declaring October 10th, 2019, Put the Brakes on Fatalities Day.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to read a proclamation. October 10, 2019 has been declared Put the Brakes on Fatalities Day by the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, and the State of New Jersey. Across the nation, traffic crashes caused approximately 36,750 fatalities in 2018 and are the leading cause of death for young people ages 15 to 34. In New Jersey, 563 individuals lost their lives in traffic crashes in 2018. Pedestrian-related crashes accounted for 31% of the state's traffic fatalities. Motorcyclists and pedestrians face increased risk on New Jersey roadways as people opt for alternative modes of transportation. 53 motorcyclists, 165 pedestrians were killed in New Jersey traffic-related crashes in 2018. Safer driving behavior such as buckling up every ride, obeying posted speed limits, stopping for pedestrians and crosswalks, using crosswalks when walking, avoiding aggressive driving behaviors, never driving impaired, wearing proper safety gear while riding a motorcycle or bicycle, and solely focusing on driving by avoiding distractions can dramatically reduce the number of traffic-related injuries and deaths. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim October 10, 2019, Put the Brakes on Fatalities Day, and call upon everyone to put these life-saving behaviors into practice to improve safety on the roadways in our community and throughout our state. Accepting this proclamation is Captain Joe Mendola from the Police Department. Joe. Those numbers hit home, and part of those statistics were right here in Old Bridge. We lost a pretty substantial number of people on our highways in 2018, and we are committed to get people to slow down. We have made it a goal, a priority in 2020 to invest in getting people to obey the speed limits on all our roads, our local roads and our highways that come through the state. So I just want to let everyone know we take this very seriously and we're going to try to make a difference, but we need your help. I need your help. We cannot be behind the wheel of every car. We need everyone to participate in every little bit that they do will perhaps save a life here in Old Bridge. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. So thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Approval of minutes of previous meetings, combined meeting September 9th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Sec.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes. Thank you.
Bill listing, Mrs. Walker.
Yes. Accounts payable, $12,408,620.52.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pasquitti, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown? Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, 92719, $989,219.52.
Do I have a motion?
Council President, I believe I gave you I think I transposed the number, it's $998,746.
Okay, you got that, Stella? Could you repeat it, Mr. Shaw, please, for the clerk?
$998,746.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Pasquetti, second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, September 27th, 2019, $50,620.07.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pasquetti, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli. May we have a breakout, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, thank you, Council Presidents. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, the total overtime for this pay period was $50,620.07. There was uptick in Public Works Recreations for the preparing for Old Bridge Day, and Public Works had a crack sealing program. For the Police Department, the total overtime was $37,122.23. When you deduct for ETO, $11,745.54. The net overtime was $25,376.69, representing 554.75 men and women hours. The special events in Police Department was beach patrol, and there was no officer injured on duty this period.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, October 11th, 2019, $987,219.52.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pasquetti, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, October 11th, 2019, $47,980.37.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pasquetti, second by Mrs. Walker. Can we have a breakdown?
Yes, Council President, thank you. As indicated by Councilwoman Walker, that total overtime for this pay period was $47,780.37. There was uptick in recreations related to Old Bridge Day, goat yoga, and movies in parks. For police department, total overtime was $29,834.87. Deduct for ETO, $9,325.23. Net overtime for police department was $20,509.64, representing 481.25 men and women hours. And special events, beach patrol, Old Bridge Day, there was no officer injured on duty that pay period.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kale?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Public hearing and ordinances for second reading. H1, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Double D Delicatessen, Block 15567, Lot 31 and 32. Application number 103-03P. Attorney requests postponement until November 18th, 2019. No renotice and no advertisement. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President, members of the council. Peter Klauser with the firm Heilbrunn Pape on behalf of Double D Deli. In the second week of October, we received a punch list from your inspector. There were some signs and some striping that needed to be done. George went out and bought the signs right away and hired a contractor to do the work. And we were at the mercy of the contractor's schedule. And Friday, Pinder and I spoke, and he said, you know, why don't we put it off because it's not done yet. Over the weekend, the signs were installed, and I think today some of the striping was done, but your engineers have not had an opportunity to go out and look at it. So we're just going to put it off so we can make sure it's done right and let them do their inspections.
Okay, anyone? Everyone good with that? Okay, thank you very much. And next, yep, we're going to take a vote on it, and then,
I need a motion.
yep, can I have a motion, please?
Should it be open to the public?
Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm so sorry, yes, anyone in the public have something to be heard on this? Okay, seeing no hands, I will close the
Thank you.
public portion.
I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kale?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes,
9 yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next is H2, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Michael Stassi, Red Shore Village, Residential Block 24000, Lot 29, application number 95-06Z.
Again, Peter Klauser on behalf of the applicant. So I've been in front of this council a number of times on this particular matter, and every time that I was here, we were working with Pinder on cleaning up some of the issues, and we finally got a clearance letter from Pinder where they've done their inspections and they're happy. However, late last week, I received a call from your attorney, Mark Roselli, Ken's partner, that he had he wanted to do some review of some easements that are dedicated to the township as part of the filed map, and it just came to his attention. He brought it to my attention. This morning, I provided his office from the applicant. I wasn't the attorney for the applicant at the time, and I was not the attorney handling their HOA work or their sales. So I gathered up a title binder from one of the sales that they had, the filed map, and a number of other items related to title, and provided that to Mark and Larry Sachs, who's the zoning board attorney that handled that application. And I understand, and I hope Ken's going to cut me off at some point, they're going to confer and make sure that the town, before you release the bond, has all the ability to go in on the easement areas and take care of things.
Okay.
Yes, I would tell you that Mr. Roselli has spoke extensively with Pinder as well as Mr. Klauser. This is our motion, our Old Bridge Legal Department, to request that this matter be postponed and carried to the next meeting to afford the legal department an opportunity to go over all of the paperwork to make sure everything's in order before it comes in front of council for a vote.
And we would consent to that request.
Okay, we'll open it up to the public.
Excuse
Anyone?
me?
Yes.
I'd like that done with notice, please.
We will provide notice.
Advertisement, too?
Advertisement as well, correct? Okay. John, anything else? Mr. Murphy, are you good? Okay. And I will open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard? Okay. Seeing no hands, we'll close the public portion. I need a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Mrs. Walker, Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
9 yes.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Ordinance,
Mr. Clauser, we'll be in touch, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
all right. Ordinance for second reading, number 2019-15, amending Old Bridge Township Code to consolidate the neighborhood commercial CN zone with the Economic Development Opportunity Zone, ED0, ED01, ED01. I need my old glasses. Good evening.
Good evening. A couple of weeks back, we came in and made a presentation in front of the council as we are improvising on the land development ordinance, and we were done with the EDO1 zone. So we are looking at all commercial zones. The next thing we started looking at was the CN zone. When evaluating the properties, we found that the CN zone is exactly identical with the EDO1. So all this does is it consolidates the EDO1 zone and the CN zone. Nothing really changes in terms of the CN zone. They both have a minimum lot area of 1 acre. The only thing the ordinance proposes is when we did the draft for the EDO1 zone in March, health fitness centers didn't have any limitation on the size when it is in EDO1 or the EDO3. In the past few months, there have been requests asking what happens if we put an LA Fitness on an EDO1 property. And that's physically not possible because something like an LA Fitness is a huge facility. A gym or a health fitness center can range from 1,500 square feet to 50,000 square feet. All we are doing is we added a requirement that says that in the EDO1 zone, because the lot area is 1 acre, we put a limitation on the size, so we restrict it to 10,000 square feet. But otherwise, it is just the same ordinance which was adopted in March. We have added a list of properties that were in the CN zone, which now will be included in the EDO1 zone. There is a zoning map that was revised because now the CN zone will be called the EDO1 zone. But that's pretty much it.
We're just here this evening if you have any questions pursuant to the second reading.
Since it's second reading, I will open it up first to the public. Anyone in the public wish to be heard, come forward, please.
Yeah, you should take that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just-
Hi.
Good evening. Can you state your name,
Oh,
please?
yes. Kevin Ahern, 15 Fernwood Place, Old Bridge. So I have a question regarding how this would impact the designation of a lot that is wetlands on Route 9 North and Cindy Road Jug Handle. It currently is, I believe, OG1, which limits it to kind of stores and stuff like that. And reading the EDO1, I see in the chapter and verse of A4T that the storage units would be limited to 15,000 square feet. So would this still be true in your proposal here?
First and foremost, I believe you're talking about the RD management property, correct?
Which one?
The RD management property,
No,
correct?
it's actually Cindy Lane LLC, Metro Storage.
Okay.
Well, that's in the OG zone, correct?
That is in the
OG
OG
zone
zone.
is not proposed, there's no proposed
There's no
changes under
proposed-
this ordinance for the OG zone, so it would have, this ordinance change would have no impact on that application.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion and now go to council. Anyone on my left for a comment or a question?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
My only question is this going to be for every CN zone in the township?
Yes.
Or, because originally it was just the Route 35 corridor, I thought.
It is all the properties that are in the CN zone currently.
The idea originally was to address the Route 35 corridor, but in looking at the impact to the other neighborhoods and the similarities between the two zones, it only made sense to eliminate and consolidate.
Okay, that's my only question.
Anyone else on my left? On my right? Mr. Pescetti?
Yes, I just want to thank you very much for this effort. It was greatly needed to look at the whole town and look at all the zones and consolidate our replication. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on my right? Seeing no hands, I will thank you for your presentation, and I need a motion.
Move it.
Mr. Pescetti, Mr. Rizzoli.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes, please.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
8 yes.
Preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the Township Clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Rich Morosky? I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Good evening. Nicole? No worries. No worries.
Thank you so much, dear. Hi, Council.
Good evening. Good
I was here about it. Well, my name is Rich Morosky. I'm an old-time resident of Old Bridge. My children went to school here. I live over in Spotswood, so I'm your neighbor. I was here about a year ago, and I know you guys passed an ordinance concerning medical cannabis here in town. And I had the pleasure of sitting here watching these presentations and all this really good stuff going on in town. And hats off to you guys. I really do think it's great. And to see the involvement of people who want to better veterans is something that is really close to my heart. I did not serve, however, I am very impassioned about that issue. One of the things that struck me is, correct me if I'm wrong, Old Bridge is 42 square miles? Holy cow, I had no idea. And it just kind of amazes me in a way. I know you guys differ in my opinion about medical cannabis, but what I can tell you about myself is I have multiple sclerosis. I've had it for 26 years. And I noticed a whole bunch of signs out here saying something about opioid cessation and what can we do. There is a solution right in front of you guys, and I know that you didn't vote for it the other time, and I'm not expecting you to change anything, but I still feel very moved to say what I have to say. In 42 square miles, I think there's plenty of room for economic development as far as a business like that may be concerned here in Old Bridge. And I just think it's really important that this council and maybe the subsequent councils that follow do not cut their nose off to spite their face. As much as you're trying to help these veterans that are coming back home from active duty, boots on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan, there's a horrible illness that comes back with them. It's called post-traumatic stress disorder. Cannabis has proven to be incredibly effective for that. And I would really like you guys to take an open mind to it in the future. It's not this evil thing. And if everyone keeps saying, not my town, which has happened here quite strongly and vociferously, not in my town, where are people going to get help? Because some of the treatments we have now are proven completely 100% ineffective. There's 21 veterans who killed themselves. I forget the exact number. I'm not a statistics guy, but there's a huge number of people who do away with themselves as a result of this horrific disorder. I would love to see something like this happen in Old Bridge. I think you would be serving some of the people in town that may be marginalized, that may not have the wherewithal to make it to a council meeting, and may not be feeling well enough to do it either. It is quite an effort that I had to come very, very uncomfortable, and I'm really in a lot of pain. I don't do these things lightly. I have to plan my things that I do. And I live right next door. And all I'm asking you guys to do is just please be a good neighbor. There's this a large community, and it overlaps where I live. And certainly having something that I could get to far easier than the one I have to go to now would be a great service to me. Please keep these things in mind. There are some people who just can't get here, or they're frightened. You have a very active police force, and they do quite well. I've seen them in action. We go around to a lot of these council meetings and all over the state, and we advocate for the police and first responders. Due to their contracted nature of their contract, they can't even discuss it with us. But I'd much rather have someone who has the option of not having to take a narcotic pain medication and go out on the job and have to make critical decisions that could influence his life or death, to maybe have an alternative that isn't quite severe. If you really think about it, just by virtue of following the prescription for narcotic pain medication, you can become hopelessly dependent upon these things. And I think we've all seen in the news that some of our first responders have indeed had problems. And this is a hidden problem. They'd lose their job if they want to get help about it. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I could say I think you guys could do a better service, maybe changing your opinion or being open-minded to it. I'm just some guy, and I am hurting, and we need your help. It's really hard to be on the outside of things and have other people who are really trying to act in everyone's best interest. And sometimes I don't think our voices are heard. I'm not here to yell and scream or berate anybody. I'm like I said, I'm your neighbor. My children have gone to school here. I've lived in this township for many, many years. It's a great place to live, and it's a great place to have a family. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Sophie Monchuk? Oh, wait a minute, there's another gentleman on the same line, is that it? No, George? No. Yeah, you're on the same line. I thought that was part of his address.
Oh, okay.
George? Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Good evening.
Okay,
I know I'm on the list. I didn't know I was second.
that's right, you're second now.
My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm from East Hanover, but I used to live across the street here in Society Hill when it first opened up. I, too, am a medical cannabis patient, and I'm glad to see you praying before the meeting. I like that. I know some people don't appreciate that, but I do. And I follow the Bible, and in the Bible it says we have to help the sick and the dying. We have to put the last first. And when you don't put the last first, it's an abomination to God. And I met God in Bayonne. I was a little boy in a wheelchair with a helmet on, and he couldn't get in to get his hair cut because there's no wheelchair access in Bayonne. And I see it all over New Jersey. I see the ignorance of councils that don't care about their people in wheelchairs and people that are sick. In Brielle, there's no access for the police station. And it's all over New Jersey. I see this ignorance and not caring about the people that are sick and the non-Christian behavior that I see from these councils. And I know there's Christians up here. I know there's Christians up here, and you can't make these people suffer. I've seen what these children are going through. And when you make them suffer more than what they're already suffering, it's an abomination to God. These people need our help. They need our love and compassion. And they're not getting it. Our police are not getting our love and compassion either. Mr. Mazzoli had comments last year about it. And well, I got a card here that I help the cops. I got a PBA card because I go out and I help cops, something that the unions don't do, because there's cops shooting up heroin in their police cars now. You know how that cop started? It started with a prescription from his doctor. And that's happening all over New Jersey. You sell fentanyl and OxyContin right here in Old Bridge, but you banned medical cannabis. That's horrible behavior. That's disgusting, the height of hypocrisy. Police need our help, and the police can't even answer these questions because they're not allowed to, because of federal law. They can't tell what they feel about their cannabis and how it's affecting their officers with PTSD and with all other problems. When they go out on disability, the first thing the doctor gives them is Percocet. First thing the doctor gives them is OxyContin. There's no cannabis, and if a doctor gives them cannabis, they're going to lose their job. Is that correct? There's no job protection for cannabis users, right? They'll lose their job. So cops that use cannabis under a doctor's prescription will lose their job. Is that fair? Don't they deserve better? Do you see what cops go through? What they see? You want to put them on opiates and make them shoot up in their car? That's what our answer is? How much Narcan did you guys give out this year? Over 1,000 yet? Is it up to 1,000? About 1,000, right?
Yeah.
We have answers for that. I was on OxyContin and roxicodone for 10 years. I have an artificial disc. I have a fusion. I just had a 2-level fusion on my neck, and I took 0 opiates. 0. I used cannabis oils, cannabis suppositories for this. 0 opiates, because my friend who couldn't be here tonight because he has chemo, he had half his liver taken out, half his colon taken out, and he used very little opiates. And he inspired me not to use opiates for my surgery, and that's what I did. 0 opiates, and that's amazing. These are things that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know about. We don't need these opiates. Cannabis is an answer. It's not it's an exit drug, not a gateway drug. And the pamphlets I've seen here are horrible. All the reefer madness, it's ridiculous. How much time do I got?
How much time?
Another minute? Okay, good.
Make a beep.
Barnegat, Berkeley, Bridgeton, Bridgewater, Brigantine, Carlstadt, Chatham, Clifton, Cranberry, East Rutherford, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Fairhaven, Freehold, Garfield, Hasbrook Heights, Hawthorne, Lavalette, Lodi, Jamesburg, Hazlet, Mahwah. You can't get no cannabis there. Manville, Maddington, Point Pleasant Beach, Halton, Caldwell, Oakland, Oceanport, Ridgewood, Ringwood, Seaside Heights, Seagirt, Shrewsbury, Secaucus, Surf City, Spotswood, Upper Freehold, Upper Saddle River, Wall, and Wayne. You can't get cannabis there. Weehawken, West Caldwell, West Long Branch, Westwood, Wyckoff, Woodcliff Lake, Palisades Park. You can't get cannabis there, and there's no wheelchair access there. Chester, Franklin Lakes, Harding, Midland Park, Mansfield, Old Bridge, Old Tappan, Ramsey, Denville, Avalon, Parsippany, Pleasantville. We made some of these towns flip. I appealed to the Christians, and Freehold flipped. They allow medical dispensaries in Freehold. They took the ban away from medical. They want to ban recreational, fine. But don't ban the medicine for kids, for vets. You wouldn't even have a council if it wasn't for disabled war vets. And these disabled war vets are killing themselves, and they need cannabis. All the vets that I know use cannabis. They don't use pills. You want to know more about it? Come talk to me. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sophie Monchek?
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophie Munchik. I live in Old Bridge. I am very concerned about the absentee ballots and letters being sent out, all about the upcoming election. I had many people, many friends come over to me, and I says, I don't know what to tell them. I went to a very close friend who I take every year. Every single year she votes, and she showed me a paper. I says, when did you get this? She didn't know. I said, let me call the number. I called the number. I guess it was the Board of Elections. And I says, listen, explain something to me. Why is everyone getting these? And she says, oh, they applied for them. No, they did not. And that's what I said. They did not. And I was told I was offensive. I says, listen, there is no way. I said, I'm very concerned. These people have no idea. I have a funny feeling there are going to be a lot of voters turned around that day. She says they will not be rejected. They will be able to vote on a piece of paper. They shouldn't have to vote on a piece of paper. If they did not elect for an absentee ballot, they should not have gotten one. And I said to the lady on the phone, glitches happen. Maybe there was a mistake in the computer. Something's wrong, because I know as a fact, some of the people got it after the time to opt out of it. That's also not fair. She did not believe me. Something is wrong. And I said that. I was very offensive because I said something that she said couldn't be. Everything is legal. Everything is done by the book. Well, you know, I hate to say that, but I don't think it is. And I am very nervous about this election because these people did not apply for these absentee votes. And I do hope that they are not turned away. Because if they are, we're going to have to do something. Because I know many people that will come forward. There are many people that have no idea. Like a friend of mine, she's a senior citizen. Now, you should have said something to me, I said. She says, oh, I didn't know. She sent it in, but I think it's too late. I think it's too late now. But well, she did send it in. Another friend of mine went, and I'm not talking one or two people. I'm talking many, many people that never received absentee ballots before are getting them now. I says, didn't anyone question? They were all coming to me. What do I know? But then when I realized that my friend who got one, that I take every year, and I know as a fact that she didn't apply for it, and then when I call the office and I'm told, oh, it's offensive, what are you accusing? I'm not accusing anybody of anything. All I'm saying is everybody deserves the right to go in that booth and press the button for who they want on their own. They should not be sent an absentee ballot and get confused. That might be a wasted vote, and that's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aubrey Conway?
Good evening.
Hi, my name's Aubrey. By way of introduction, I live in Saraville. I was born and raised in Saraville. I worked in Old Bridge, though, and I go to church in Old Bridge. I have for like over 10 years, right down the street. I am a patient advocate for medical marijuana patients in New Jersey. I'm on the board for one of the 6 currently functioning dispensaries in New Jersey. So I don't represent any company or anything like that. I just represent patients. And tonight, I just wanted to appeal to you guys on the fact that I have spoken a lot of places. I've spoken in other states. I've spoken all over the state a lot about how to speak to your children about medical marijuana and also to advocate for more access for patients, as you've heard from some other patients tonight. I understand that Old Bridge was one of the first towns to include medical in their ban for cannabis. And as you've heard tonight, I don't care about recreational marijuana. I'm not here to talk about that. But when I specialize in helping juveniles with complex medical conditions and terminal patients in the program. So when I'm talking about cannabis, that's who I'm talking about, needing access. And, you know, there's a ton of literature, as you've heard, as you know, in the lobby, with a lot of information in it that it's obviously opiate crisis in New Jersey is out of hand. But I just am concerned about the information that we're giving to children when we're talking about the opiate crisis and starting that conversation by saying marijuana is how you get to the opiate crisis. When the state of New Jersey has held 3 expansions on the medical program, and one of them included opiate use disorder as a qualifying condition to become a medical marijuana patient in New Jersey. So I just see that as contradictory information that we might be giving our children. I think that this is an ever-evolving thing. It's brand new, obviously. And I think maybe kind of bragging about being one of the first towns to include medical in the ban is like maybe outdated at this point, and maybe it could be revisited as the idea of cannabis being detrimental is antiquated at this point. The state of New Jersey is allowing it as medicine, So I don't know if that's really the message we want to send our kids, that we're no longer seeing it as medicine. We're just seeing it as something that's going to make Sodom and Gomorrah happen in the streets. It's just not going to happen. So I just urge you to take into consideration these things, that times are changing. The state of New Jersey's view on it is changing. Science's view on it is changing. And I think that should be taken into account, especially because the opiate epidemic is still an epidemic. So perhaps we could have more open minds and more conversation about perhaps things evolving, and viewing this really as an actual medication instead of just something that some people are not willing to listen to just because they don't like the word marijuana or they've made their mind up already. Maybe we could just have more open minds nowadays, because I can tell you the patients that I help and the children that I help and the terminal patients that I help, they're not bothering you. They're not bothering you. They just want access to what has helped them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike Ventelis?
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? I'd like to share my story of getting off of opiates. I'm too a medical cannabis patient in New Jersey, and my story actually starts out in Old Bridge here, where I wound up seeing a doctor in the year 2006, and I wound up getting put on painkillers, and then I was prescribed more. I had a tolerance. The tolerance turned to a dependency, and before I knew it, the doctor wound up cutting me off. The doctor got cut off. She wasn't able to help me anymore. So what it did was it pushed me to the streets. I'm sure you've heard stories like this, but I'd like to share mine with you tonight. But it pushed me to the streets, and what it made me do is it forced me to start buying pills on the street. And I couldn't do that for too long, because then the price of it was too much. I was in a full-fledged addiction, full-blown addiction at that point. So I started using heroin. I started snorting it at first. It was cheaper than taking the pills, and I was trying to maintain an addiction, and I did it for a long time. I was addicted to heroin and methadone for over 10 years. When I wasn't on heroin, I was on methadone. It was a horrible existence. I found out that medical cannabis could decrease the dose of the methadone that I was on. So I was on 130 milligrams. 130 milligrams I was on. It's a lot. I got off of all of that in 6 months. No doctor would recommend to do it in that time. But I discovered that medical cannabis was able to make my methadone, I was able to decrease my dose. I would take it every day in the morning, the methadone. I started smoking the cannabis instead of taking the methadone. I'd get halfway through the day, and I'd realize I didn't even take my dose in the morning. So I started going down, taking less and less and less. I needed that cannabis. I needed that to get me through it. The withdrawal symptoms were ridiculously hard to deal with. I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. It was tough. Every morning, every day, it was hard. I used the cannabis to maintain being opiate-free. I'm opiate-free for, at the end of this month, it'll be 19 months. I'm super proud of that. Thank you. I'm super proud of that. My doctor's proud of that. My friends are proud of that. My family's proud of that. When I was in that methadone clinic, again, it was a horrible existence. There was another gentleman who wound up getting his medical marijuana card. He brought it to the attention of the facility because he wanted to do everything by the books. He was proud that he went through the legal way to get that card. He brought it up to the attention of the clinic, and being that the clinic has to follow federal regulations, they wound up taking all his take-home bottles away. You get those take-home bottles by passing drug tests. You build up a relationship with the clinic, and then before long, you don't have to go every day. This is where this gentleman was at in the program. He was only going once a week. He told them about that card, and they stripped all his take-homes away. Those are the kinds of things that patients face. Those are the kinds of complications that are out there. I tried normal, traditional methods of recovery, the ones that have the lack of success rate. I don't know what the number is. We all know that it's not good numbers. There's a lot of frauds in this industry, the recovery industry. There's a lot of frauds in Monmouth County and Ocean County. They're everywhere. They don't treat people as patients. They treat them as numbers, dollar signs. And unfortunately, banning medical cannabis is just another roadblock for someone like myself, and then somebody else like me. the difficulty of getting off of it and staying off of it too. Because after getting off of it, I changed my environment, I changed my surroundings, and that in many ways was more harder. I left a very toxic household back in December. I just got a new apartment beginning of this month. So I keep progressing. And it kills me to think that somebody like myself could be roadblocked or boxed out or red taped when they're actually just trying to live, trying to maintain being healthy. I wanted to share my story tonight because I'm sure maybe you've heard stories like that, but I think maybe you needed to hear it from someone. I think it's ignorant that you guys banned it. There's just no competence there. I was going to reference some things here, but I don't even know if I want to waste my breath on it. I mean, this is complete trash. There's no sources on here. How you could have a pamphlet in the lobby there with no sources and just random numbers? Everything from marijuana is one of the most major causes for ER visits. It even says that you're more prone to wrinkles. From what, smiling? From giggling? This is complete trash. And I don't want to be rude. I didn't come here to be rude, but this belongs in the garbage. At the very least, let's get rid of these pamphlets, please.
Thank you.
Susan Blumick?
Hi, Susan
Good
Blumig,
evening.
234 Morganville Road, Matawan. I have something to say, but I first wanted to congratulate the mayor and Mr. Shaw for the audit. I was here at several meetings when you were accused of backroom deals, and I guess all those backroom deals must have paid off because Old Bridge is in good shape, so keep it up. I've been spending time at the Republican headquarters calling registered voters, including Democrats, Republicans, and mail-in ballot voters, which is another story. The interesting part of this job is hearing what the residents have to say. And believe me, they're not falling for any numbskull promises. Many have watched the tape interviews of both parties' candidates and want to discuss what they've heard on TV or from watching TV council meetings. So I'm going to address some of the talking points of a few of the candidates for these residents. Number one Democratic candidate complained that we do not do enough for the seniors of this town, and if elected, she will see to that. Well, if I am not mistaken, some of those needs are being addressed tonight in the council voting to purchase another bus to carry seniors to and from many locations. Number two, several Democratic candidates spoke about it being time to work on the town's infrastructure. Well, hello, traffic lights are closer to being installed on some of our most dangerous intersections than they have ever been, and I've lived here since 1981. Ticetown Road was totally paved for the first time ever and paid for by money that this Republican administration obtained through grants, which, in case you are not aware, do not have to be paid back. One of the Democratic candidates actually lives on Ticetown, and he didn't even mention this. Even Morganville Road is scheduled to be paved in its entirety, which has also never been done in the 38 years I have lived there. It has even been coordinated with the mayor of Marlborough so that both ends of the road will be paved, making for the smoothest ride since 1981. Even when two very strong and powerful Democrats, Fred Kurtz and Ed Testino, lived on Morganville Road, they couldn't get it paved. And one more thing about Morganville Road, it will also be paved by grant money that this mayor and council fought hard to get, and again, we don't have to pay it back. 3, many of the Democrats running here on November 5th want to see our municipal taxes stabilized. Hello? We had a 0% tax increase this year. You can't get any more stable than that. The tax increase we're all forced to pay is as a result of the Democratic governor who saw fit to cut our school aid, therefore forcing a tax increase to make up for this shortfall. Another Democratic move that cost the residents of Old Bridge. At this time, it is also good to mention that under Mayor Henry and the Republican Council, our bond rating has increased to a AA+, although the man that was here, the auditor, said it's the closest thing to AAA. What does this mean? When Old Bridge needs to borrow money, say for capital improvements or emergencies, we pay a much lower interest rate than we did when this mayor took control of the township finances, saving each and every resident, as also stated by the auditor tonight. Number 4, the master plan is always a hot topic in every election. Well, that's kind of a work in progress, and you need to follow guidelines. This particular Democratic candidate, much like the presidential candidates, have no plan to explain to the residents, just another talking point. 5, overdevelopment. COA is a Democratic initiative that orders towns to build so many moderate to low-income housing units. The Republican candidates, Mrs. Sohor, Mrs. Walker, and Dr. Greenberg, voted against this directive, and it has been fought in court. The number of houses, or the number of dwellings, has been reduced, but none of us are really happy to be ordered to build in our town what the state thinks we should. So there's really nothing any candidate can do about this overdevelopment issue. If only the Democrats had attended some of the council meetings, they might know this. 6, bulk pickup of garbage and recyclables should be paid for through our county taxes, but it's not. Once again, this has been decided by the Democratic freeholders. How would everyone feel in the township to pay more to have bulk waste picked up by Old Bridge, even if they didn't have any bulk waste? Our recycling yard recycles just about everything imaginable. And if you cannot transport your things to the yard, a call is all that is needed to the Department of Public Works, and they will assist you. So, I'd like the residents of Old Bridge to study the things that have been promised to them and question how this will be done and/or paid for. It's easy to promise. It's much harder to deliver. Our Republican mayor and council members seeking re-election have delivered time and time again. Please support them because they get results. 2 sentences. One more analogy. I retired from education. I remember in the spring when there were student council elections, one kid would always say,
We have to stop
2
now.
sentences.
No, we can't.
If you elect me, there'll be ice cream for lunch every day.
Excuse me.
Can't we
your
have
time
to
is up.
stop?
I'm sorry.
This is not a
Thank you.
student council
Thank you very
election, and
much.
there's no
Thank
ice.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one.
Thank you.
Jeffrey King.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public.
Good evening.
My name is Jeffrey King. I live in Eatontown, 24 Elizabeth Parkway. I'm also an advocate for medical cannabis, and I would just implore you to reconsider your ban, rescind the ban, and in light of that it's been a year and we're seeing this program develop here in New Jersey and help more people, and we see Jake's Law passed, and it's having a positive effect on now my friend with terminal cancer has no limit on the medicine that he can get from dispensaries. He can't afford it, but he has no limit, so that's a good thing. The problem is, though, not only affordability, but availability and access. Traveling to get it is a real burden on people who are sick and suffering, and you can do your part to help. If it's accessible here, that's very helpful for people in this area. So there's a lot of arguments you can make for medical cannabis, and I would just like to let you know that AARP is doing some of the arguing for us now. You don't want to be on the bad side of AARP. I'll just read their statement in March. The Board of Directors approved a policy supporting medical use of marijuana for older adults in states that have legalized it. The decision was based on the growing body of research suggesting marijuana may be helpful in treating certain medical conditions and symptoms. The policy also notes decisions related to the use of medical marijuana should be made between a patient and healthcare provider and appropriately balance clinical evidence of benefit and harm and the patient's preference and values. It doesn't say anywhere anything about any elected officials getting involved in that at any level, federal, state, county, local. You should support the medical community in healing people and not inhibit their ability to be effective. Now, the AARP is also firmly in favor of more research so we can find out the best uses to help the most people. This is also a position that is held by the American Legion, since we were talking about veterans this evening, and my father was in the Air Force. My cousin is in Okinawa now in the Air Force, and I mean, we all have veterans in our lives. So the American Legion is on par with AARP. They were at this point earlier, actually. So I wouldn't want to cross AARP and the American Legion and ban Jake's medicine in my town. Matter of fact, my town is supporting ATC applications, and I'm proud of that. I think that it's the right thing to do. It's the right side of history. It's compassionate. It's enlightened. It's not governing in fear. It's love, and it's peace, and it's kindness. So don't let me get too emotional, but it really is an important issue, and people are suffering, and you can help be leaders in alleviating that. I know we don't have all the answers. It is complicated. So I need an open mind here. I know that you made your decision, but I know that's not the final say. There's still a chance to revisit it. So I'd just like to read something from just to food for thought of how complicated this is and how really we need to rethink our assumptions. This is the Emerging Clinical Applications for Cannabis and Cannabinoids, a review of recent scientific literature, chock full of studies with actual references where this information came from, unlike the propaganda out in the hall. Endocannabinoids and cannabinoids are found at the intersection of the body's various systems, allowing communication and coordination between different cell types. At the site of an injury, for example, cannabinoids can be found decreasing the release of activators and sensitizers from the injured tissue, stabilizing the nerve cell to prevent excessive firing, and calming nearby immune cells to prevent release of pro-inflammatory substances. The three different mechanisms of action on three different cell types for a single purpose minimize the pain and damage caused by the injury. So this is very complicated, but it's also simple. Okay? The endocannabinoid system, with its complex actions in our immune system, nervous system, and all the body's organs, is literally a bridge between body and mind. By understanding this system, we begin to see a mechanism that explains how states of consciousness can promote health or disease. Just be compassionate and take this message with you and share it with your peers and the folks in Trenton and Washington. We really need your help. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kevin Ahern?
Yes, please, go right ahead. Good evening. Again. Yep.
How's that? Can you hear me? Kevin Ahern, 15 Fernwood Place, again. I met with the council a few months back and the mayor regarding the Metro Storage facility proposed on Route 9 North and Cindy Street Jug Handle. And unfortunately, it's still proceeding, even though they do not have a DEP wetlands waiver. They do not have a Department of Transportation curb cut approval, but Metro Storage is still spending a lot of money and time to build a 140,000 square foot storage unit on a jug handle, that the access to that will be in the express bus lane and less than 50 feet from the Cindy Street jug handle. Does that make any sense to any members here? It's a very dangerous situation. Plus, it's wetlands. It's not isolated wetlands. It is wetlands. I've been living in my home adjacent to that for 28 years. I was told when I expanded my house that they would never build there. I know this is the same story. I have some new points, though. Some of the experiences I've had since I've tried to get involved and find out information about what's going on, I've kind of scratching my head saying this is a funny way to run an airline, as they used to say. So I'm still waiting for feedback from Town Council Larry Sachs on the 2018 notification for the letter of interpretation, which I believe was done incorrectly. There was no notice to citizens homeowners within 200 feet. And as I mentioned last time, the improper notification on the 2019 application by Metro Storage, in that neighbors who were notified in 2011 on the other side of Fernwood Place were not included in 2019. 200 feet is 200 feet. Google Maps may be wrong because I paced it out myself. I'm a golfer. And I ended up halfway through my neighbor's front yard. So, how much time do I have? 2 minutes, okay. I'm looking for the zoning board minutes. Mark, I think I reached out to you. I find out that the zoning board minutes are the responsibility of the applicant. Kind of odd, I thought, but, you know, I'm new to this. So then I go to the Shade Tree Commission upstairs. Unfortunately, they didn't have a forum, and I start talking about, you know, there's 300 trees that they can help me save. They're going to put 18 trees up instead of 30, instead of 300. Well, they don't get involved until the very end. I said, does that make any sense, Mayor? I mean, Metro Storage is spending a lot of money, you know, and they're going to say, well, we spent all this money now. How can you say no to us? That's why I came here in August and said, this doesn't make any sense. Any one of you, I was out on Route 9 North at this location at 7:30 this morning. I made a video. I tried to upload it to Facebook, but I haven't been very successful, but I will. It's a very dangerous situation. So I'm in my last minute. I'm going to wrap it up. So I go to the DOT and I say, hey, DOT, what's going on with this application? I file open records here if they don't have a record of it. I file one with the DOT. I'm waiting to get it. He goes, well, you know, it's very, the owner has a right to build, you know. I said, which I understand that. However, do you have a right to build on a jug handle? So then I find out who's going to do the traffic study? DOT? The township? No, the applicant. Who said that? Oh. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know. They make well. So anyway, the owner does have a right to build. I'd love to have Metro Storage in Old Bridge somewhere, but this location doesn't make any sense. The Old Bridge Police have a, let's put the brakes on.
Time's up, thank you.
Okay, your time is up.
Let's put the brakes on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Benjamin Brown?
My name's Ben Brown. For those of you who don't know me, many of you do, but for those of you who don't, my name's Ben. I'm an electrical engineer by education. By trade, I'm a businessman. And generally, I'm very happy to stay out of the limelight and out of politics. But I am also Councilwoman Adina Brown's husband. And recently, after a council meeting, a man and a woman confronted her, cornered her, were waving an umbrella in her face, accused her of being racist because of her pushback on anti-immigration rhetoric. And I just want to make a statement about that. Generally, that is, I don't think that that should be the way people talk to our council people. I do think that the way the council people talk to each other kind of sets the tone that people feel that they can talk to our council people. But to bring it back to the more specifics, I don't think anyone should be talking to my wife like that. I don't appreciate it, and it's not really okay. We've been married for 13 years. I've known her for years before even that. During that time, she's been an advocate for children, seniors, those with mental illness, and I can just assure you she's not racist. I just let you know. Her family and herself have been nothing but kind to me and my family, welcoming both us and our friends and family into the house and vice versa. She has many deep friendships across racial, social, and political background. Beyond that personal statement, I know there's a lot of people who seem to feel like America is beyond racism. It's something maybe people should get over with. You know, there is an acknowledgement that things are not as they were 100 years ago. However, there's still definitive personal and societal racism. It still exists. It's still around. People still experience this. I can say personally, we were out to eat in a local restaurant, very local, not in Old Bridge, but very close by. And they were there was a conflict about the bill, and they were specifically told her, we'd really rather not serve your kind here. Those are the exact words they said. This is local. I've seen my kids in situations where they were doing the same thing the other kids were doing, and people have walked up and tried to discipline them and told the other kid it was okay to just walk away. Can I say exactly what was going through their mind? I can't, but there are certain conclusions we could draw from that. To pull it back to more societal, and once again, this is not to take away from the job. It's a hard job, but the police chief in Bordentown was recently on trial for hate crimes. Why? He was marching around the office. They have videos of this and tapes of this telling people that he would like to line up all the black people and shoot them. He didn't use the term black people. If you don't think that this gentleman had, or I use that term very loosely, did not affect hundreds or thousands of black people's lives while he was dealing with them in his role, I think you're being a little naive. This is a part of society that we deal with. It's a real element. It's a hardship in many people of color's lives, and I don't think as a white person we should speak to whether or not that hardship exists. We shouldn't speak to whether or not other people have experienced that. And, you know, it's just something that we wrong to do. We can't do that. What we can do, and what I would say encourage everybody to do, is really take the time to know people from other backgrounds. Invite them into your house or invite them somewhere out to eat. Sit down with them and talk to them. Have a deep conversation. And I guarantee you will learn something when you do that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're through with the public portion, Stella?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All righty, so that's public portion. Now we'll go on to council comments. Anyone on my left for a comment? Mr. Murphy?
Yes, I'm a little confused here. I didn't realize, and I don't think that medical marijuana is illegal in Old Bridge. What we voted on, or the council voted on, was not to sell it in Old Bridge. And I felt it was really stupid to even bring it up at that point because I don't think the governor's ever going to pass that. Now, I understand with the pain, nobody probably has the pain that I have. I've got a lot of, I have 2 separated shoulders that they have to fix with surgery for the second time. I had my hip replaced. I had my quadriceps snapped off. I play golf and I fall down a lot and I get hurt. I actually just tried this CBD oil or something, and it's amazing. It does work. And that's what I'm using right now, and it's from the marijuana plant. The only thing it doesn't have is the THC. And I don't think the THC has anything to do with the healing, but I may be wrong. But, that's what I'm using. But I don't know where all this people thinking that it's illegal in Old Bridge to have medical marijuana. My doctor recommended that for me, and I had to go through an oncologist and all this other stuff. I never got it because I was a little afraid of it, but that's what it is. So everybody seems to be talking about medical marijuana. There's no problem here, and that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Merwin. Mr. Merwin?
Yes. The only thing we did with the marijuana issue was pass a zoning ordinance that just did not allow it to be put anywhere that, any willy-nilly, hey, let's put a dispensary over here. So we didn't zone it for it. Mayor Hamachu, I'm sorry that the zoning officer had left already. Do you know if we've had anybody come into town that wanted to place a medical dispensary in Old Bridge?
That I know
No.
came to us.
And if they did, they could go before the zoning board and request, a medical marijuana dispensary.
I think the ordinance that passed does not permit dispensary in boundary of Old Bridge.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Attorney, they would go before the zoning board to get an adjustment on that. Was that not correct?
No, it's not correct.
What's that?
It's not correct.
What would they do? What do we have to do then?
Yeah, it's an ordinance that you passed, so it prohibits within the boundaries.
Well, then there may be something we have to check. I mean, this goes back to Governor Christie, Governor Murphy. They passed this law that now you would think medical marijuana would be sold in pharmacies, but they wanted people to make money. You know, so they made it that it's going to be a medical dispensary. And I think that's what half the problem is that, you know, instead of having medical marijuana in a pharmacy, they have to have it in a dispensary, which we have outlawed. And I think if they change their rules, you know, I think it'd be a whole lot easier to sell it in Old Bridge, right? I am not against medical marijuana. I've seen the benefits of medical marijuana. All right, but I definitely am against recreational marijuana, and, you know, unfortunately, that's right where it is right now. So, right now, evidently, there's a complete ban. I thought we just did the zoning that outlawed it, but evidently we outlawed it. We'll have to check into that.
Anyone else on my left? Mrs. Brown?
All right, this is going to take a while, so everybody brace yourself. Okay. So, I didn't want to bring this up again. Obviously, my husband just came up and spoke. I appreciate it. Your check's in the mail. But as he mentioned, after the last meeting, I was actually accosted by a man and a woman. The man was waving an umbrella in my face, as he stated. I was told that I'm harboring immigrants in my house, which is a weird comment, but okay. And that I'm racist. Several times I was told this. I'm arrogant, I'm racist. And the first thing I want to ask anybody who believes this, why is it that I was okay when I was sitting up here quietly, nodding up and down yes to everybody, and the rants and the arguments, no offense, guys, because I know you were included in some of those. But there were rants about mail-in ballots and direct deposit and so many other things. The one time I actually speak up passionately, which is about humans, I'm told that I'm a horrible person. I've heard a plethora of things. I'm going to give a story because I think stories are very effective. And I hope no one's rolling their eyes or making noises, because I'm sure at home no one can hear or see them, but I'm sure that's happening to the right of me. So anyway, years ago, and this has happened many times, but this time in particular I just bring up, I was at the mall, department store. There was an older woman who was at the register. There were like people of different ages like snickering behind her because she was having a hard time reaching and getting her money out of her wallet. I didn't want her to feel bad, but I eventually just kind of gave her the money and tried to help her so she can go on her way. I could tell she was embarrassed. I couldn't help but kind of like admonish those people in line who were teasing her, because this could have been their grandmother, could have been somebody in their family that they know. And I give this story because so many things like this have happened where I see people being insensitive or just not compassionate toward the plight or situation of someone else, right? Maybe someone's not older, so they think it's funny that this woman's struggling. She might have arthritis. Could be a problem, right? But I give this story, like I said, because my speaking up for immigrants, I personally am not an immigrant. My father was. He's definitely been documented in here for many years. But I speak up for other groups of people, not because I always understand personally what they go through, but because I think it's the right thing to do as a human being. And for anybody who has a problem with that, for anybody who thinks that makes me biased in any way, they probably need to look at the mirror. They need to look in the mirror really hard and ask themselves some questions. Why they think it's not right to speak up for human beings being mistreated. Further, I have notes, but you know what? I think I can go off the fly here. I'm pretty good at that. Another thing, I think what people don't understand is that they don't see the people behind the scenes saying that those kind of conversations, anti-immigrant, anti-this, anti-that, are scary to people in our community. They just don't have the wherewithal and sometimes the courage to come up here and say anything. And I do have a ward that is super diverse. It's probably one of the most diverse wards in this whole entire town. And I have to speak up for everybody. I can't just speak up for people that look like my husband or people that look like only me. I have to speak up for everybody. And I'm okay with doing that. And if someone has a problem with it, I suggest they don't meet me outside after the council meeting and try to accost me. Another point I want to make. While I was campaigning, I did a little research because I came to the meetings at times and I would look at meetings online. And what I would do is speak to the people that live in the community for a long time who have that experience on council here, either were on council or were people in the community who had seen council go through different shifts and changes. And one of the things they said is that they were so disheartened by the level of vitriol and just nastiness that they've been seeing on the council. The apathy to everyone's point of view, the fighting, the arguing. And I really, really hoped that when I started in this, I would be able to change that. Silly, naive me, right? Oh boy. But anyway, I was hoping that that could change. But unfortunately, I've seen some things that I heard that would happen, like actually happen to me. There are a group of people on our council that actually do things like get friends to come up and shame people and spread whisper campaigns, say really, really nasty things about people, and then put it out there as if it's truth, which is probably why some people on this council had their friends come up to me, send me nasty emails that were really, really rude and mean, and then also come up to me after the meeting and try to attack me. What I'm going to ask is that, and I think I asked this, actually I remember, I asked this question very early on me being here. It's almost 2 years, I'm not quite at 2 years yet. I asked if we could do something different, if we can work together, if we can do like a group training, a team rah-rah kind of thing, and everyone said no. But I'm gonna ask again that we change what we've been doing. I know the whisper campaigns are a popular thing, and I actually feel really bad for people who think that that's the only way to win a campaign. If you can't win the hearts and minds of constituents without speaking badly about other people, then you probably shouldn't be a leader. I just wanna say that, and I hope the people who do that hear me very firmly because they know who they are. And they do this all the time, and I feel bad for the people that actually go along with them and carry out their plots. That's pretty sad too. I'm almost done, but I say all this to say, yes, we are here to, of course, serve our community with strength, leadership, compassion, right? But I think the other thing we forget sometimes is that even if we are struggling with our own internal issues with immigration, cannabis, whatever the problem is, right? Or whatever the concern is, our children in this community hear us. Maybe they're not at the meetings, maybe they're not watching it because they're on YouTube or something, watching something else, makeup tutorials perhaps. But they hear this, it trickles down and eventually they get this information. And what do we think happens in our schools? I don't really think any of us want any more chaos in schools, and we certainly don't want it in our neighborhoods where we live. So I'm sure some people will want to like rebuttal to this. I hope that they don't. But if they do, then that says something else as well. But I believe that our purpose here, and what my purpose definitely has been here to do, is to stand up and speak up for all people, regardless of where they live, what they look like, if they're in Ward 3 or another ward. That's what I'm here to do, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Up for council comments. Anyone on my left? No? Anyone on my right? Mr. Pasquetti.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the procedure in our zoning and planning. When we have professionals come up where they are going to build something, The traffic study normally is done by the applicant to save the town money, so we don't have to have that cost. Now, if the traffic study is reviewed by the board, whether the planning or the zoning, and they don't feel that it's adequate, then we have our own traffic person that would go ahead and do another study. But the preliminary, the first traffic study is done by the applicant. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biscotti. Anyone else on my right? Mrs. Walker.
Yes, I just want to announce that November 9th will be the annual Apple Festival, sponsored by the Historical Society. It's from 12 to 4 at their Civic Center here. It's a really great event, so if you have time, bring your family. There are apple pies, there's lots of vendors, and it's a very nice event.
Thank you. Else on my right? Mrs. Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes, I just wanted to talk again about, a resident came up and spoke about the vote by mail, and I'm just speaking about it because I've gotten so many calls about it, and unfortunately, there are people getting a ballot, not the application that they sent out to everyone to vote by mail. They're actually getting ballots, and they never even requested a ballot. And it's creating a lot of confusion. I was called by many constituents that said, where do I go to vote now? And I said, you have to vote by the ballot since they mailed it to you. So I spoke to the county. They called up the individual I was with them to find out why they're getting this ballot. Because the letter that was sent out by the clerk was, if anyone requested a ballot in 16, 17, or 18, they were going to automatically get it. This individual never even requested a ballot and got it. And that's where the confusion's at. Another lady, when she went to visit family in Europe, she voted by mail in 14. So they just randomly sent her another one, although she had voted in 15 at the polls. So there is mass confusion with this election and the vote by mail agenda, and I really think it is wrong that if you want to vote by mail, you send in the application for it. No one should dictate, through legislation, especially in the state of New Jersey. In August this happened, a special session was called. No one should dictate to randomly send you it. If you want it, you can request it. Then the other confusion is, with this ballot, so many people got the ballot. The Board of Ed with the vote by mail is on the back. You can't even imagine how many phone calls I got that people thought it was, if they opened it one way, it was only the Board of Ed, and then if they opened it the other way, it was only for the general election. This is wrong. This is wrong. There's no reason to confuse people, and this is worse, and it's disenfranchising seniors. And seniors, to flip this ballot over and how to vote, it is utterly ridiculous. And then with the Board of Ed, the geniuses, whoever came up with the format of this ballot, is just wrong. It used to be a list of the candidates for Board of Ed. It was vertical. Now it's horizontal across the whole ballot. It is mass confusion, and it is unfortunate. They said they pushed this through the vote by mail to get more people to vote. No, I think it's really to direct an election, and it really adds to an auspices of suspicion when a ballot is so poorly constructed. So I just want to say to anyone out there, if you got in the mail the ballot for a vote by mail, fill it out and you have to send it out. It is too late to opt out. If you go to the polls, you can request a provisional ballot. The unfortunate thing is those ballots are not counted. They are not counted unless it is a close election. They do not go through all those ballots. And so there is a problem there also. And even when you call the clerk's office, just how the lady who came up and spoke about it, if on any given day you speak to someone else in the office, you're getting different information. So it is mass confusion, but everyone has a right to vote. So I hope everyone does come out and vote. But this time, if you do have a vote by mail ballot, send it in, and then make sure right after the election that you call the clerks or county clerk. If you don't want to vote, opt out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no hands, I will close the council comments. Report of the township clerk.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Just to let the council know that we had our rabies clinic on Saturday, and it went very well. 210 animals were vaccinated, 176 dogs, and 34 cats. And of course, as the election was spoken about this evening, Tuesday, November 5th, please be sure to go out and cast your vote. Polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. And no one can tell you that you cannot vote. If there's a problem, fill out a provisional ballot. If there's a bigger problem, call my office, and I'll meet you at the poll.
Anything else? That it, Stella?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's
no,
it.
no, it's
Thank
okay.
you.
I'd like a motion to accept the clerk's report,
Move
please.
it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Merwin.
Merwin? Thank you. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
Report of the township attorney.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Administrative report, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Council President. Administrative report of October 21st, 2019. Item 1, DuPont Community Partnership Grant. The DuPont Corporation Powerline site reached out to Old Bridge Township to explore philanthropic partnership. This newly formed relationship has resulted in initial DuPont donation of $7,500 to Camp Robin to fund various items and programs. To celebrate this partnership, the Camp Robin Friday Nights Teen Program kicked off Friday, October 4th, 2019, with Mayor Henry and DuPont employee in attendance. Additional donations from DuPont are expected to further benefit this camp, as well as Old Bridge Food Bank. And you saw the presentation already on that. Number 2, John Piccolo Ice Arena. The Old Bridge John Piccolo Ice Arena is now open for the season. Residents should check the website oldbridge.com/recreation for detail on open skating session as well as lessons. Item number 3, bond anticipation note ban sale. On Wednesday, October 16, 2019, the Department of Finance received 4 bids for the sale of $3,415,000 of bond anticipation notes scheduled to mature on October 23, 2020. The winning bid from Amboy Bank has a net interest cost of 1.42% or $48,351.51. The net interest costs range from 1.42% to 1.53%. Item number 4, Old Bridge Business Alliance. The Alliance will hold an informal gathering at Bubba's 33 Restaurants located at 1002 Route 9 South, Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, from 6 to 8 p.m. This will be an opportunity for Alliance members and Old Bridge business owners to network and enjoy light meal. For more information about Alliance, please call 732-721-5600 extension 2060. Item number 5, Halloween Spectacular Event. The Department of Parks and Recreation will kick off Halloween season with the 2019 Haunted House from October 23rd to 25th, 2019 from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, October 26th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Richard Allen Cooper Civic Center. The 2019 Halloween Spectacular event will be held on Saturday, October 26, 2019 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event will include arts and crafts games, hay rides, music, and pumpkin picking and painting. For additional information about Spectacular or other upcoming program, residents should contact Parks and Recreation at extension 4999 or visit the township website at oldbridge.com/recreation. Item number 6, Household Hazardous Waste Day. The Township Recycling Department is sponsoring a Household Hazardous Waste Day on Sunday, October 27 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. in a municipal complex. Middlesex County residents are welcome to bring items including aerosol cans, antifreeze, brake fluid, pool chemicals, and fire extinguishers. For additional information, please call Department of Public Works at extension 6107. Item number 7, fall leaf collection. The fall leaf pickup schedule has been posted on Township website and Facebook page. Collection begins the week of October 28th and continues throughout November and December. The full schedule can be printed by going to website at oldbridge.com/recycling. Item number 8, Hackensack Meridian groundbreaking. A groundbreaking ceremony for new emergency room expansion project at Hackensack Meridian Health Raritan Bay Medical Center will be held at 3 p.m. on Monday, October 28th. The $39 million expansion is expected to be completed in 2020 and will result in a state-of-the-art facility. Item number 9, Silver Lining Halloween Party at George Bush Center. The annual Halloween party will be held on the Thursday, October 31st, 2019, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at George Bush Center. There will be games, lunch, dancing, costume contests. Guests must be a member of Silver Lining at Old Bridge to attend. Please contact Center at extension 6600 or visit the website oldbridge.com/silverlining for more information. Item number 10, best practices. The Best Practice Inventory instituted by New Jersey State requires all municipalities to respond annually to the best practice questionnaires issued by the Division of Local Government Services. The stated financial payment is subject to completion of the survey. The 2019 inventory required response to 53 questions that included core competencies, best practices, and 31 unscored survey questions. In order to receive full state aid, municipality must have a minimum score of 30. The Township of Old Bridge will receive full aid with a score of 42.5 out of 53 questions. Item number 11, Mayor's Henry's Clean Team. The final cleanup for the year will be held on Saturday, November 2nd, 2019. Mayor Henry and volunteers from Old Bridge Militia Foundation, Cooper Elementary School, Moment in Dance Company, Calvary Chapel softball team, and Shepherd Elementary School will be cleaning various roadways throughout the township. For additional information, residents should contact the Clean Community Coordinator by emailing recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 12, fourth quarter tax payments. The Township Division of Tax Collection will be open Monday to Friday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. during the fourth quarter tax collection period. The tax office will also be open between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Saturday, November 2nd, 2019, and between hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12, 2019. The last day to pay tax without interest or penalty is November 12, 2019. Payment received after November 12, 2019 will accrue interest back to the statutory due date of November 1st. For additional information, residents should contact Division of Tax Collection at extension 2999. Everyone can pay tax online also. Please keep that in mind, that you can pay online or visiting the tax office. Item number 13, Old Bridge Food Bank Holiday Collection. The food bank and its volunteers are hard at work getting ready for the fast approaching holidays. Anyone wishing to contribute to food bank can drop off donation at Old Bridge Food Bank or at the Old Bridge Public Library during business hours. A list of needs item is posted on Township website at oldbridge.com/foodbank. Residents can also call extension 2022 for more information. In addition, Department of Parks and Recreation and Social Services and Department of Public Works once again seeking sponsorship from township departments and council members for this year's Thanksgiving basket for the food bank. A basket can be sponsored with a donation of $50. Last year's drive raised $1,793 that went towards 35 baskets. Item number 14 and the last item, Veterans Day holidays. On Monday, November 11, 2019, all municipal offices will be closed in observance of Veterans Day holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Does any questions or concerns with Mr. Pescetti?
I think I asked this question before, but I don't remember the answer. On the fourth quarter tax payments, when you say there's a statutory due date of November 1st, what do you mean by that?
I'm sorry. All the taxes on every quarter are due on the first day of the month. So February 1st, May 1st, August 1st, November 1st. Then you have a 10 days grace period that allows you to pay by the 10th of the month. In November, because 11th, 10th is Sunday, and 11th is Monday when we are off, it's extended to the 12th, November 12th. So if you pay through November 12th, you are not subject to interest or penalty. But after that, it's the interest and penalty applies from the November 1st date.
Okay, so for me, I have a direct deposit. It comes out directly, right?
Right.
So what date does it come out?
I believe the tax office will send an email. Are you signed up with the Township Tax Office?
It just comes out automatically, right from my checking account.
Well, I think you should make sure that payment remember, a payment has to reach the Township Tax Office by 12. So if you schedule, depending on each bank and the time they take to process their payments, you need to make sure you process in a timely fashion.
Yeah, so my question is...
Alternatively, I suggest to anyone, the council member, residents, anybody, Township Tax Office maintains the list for an automatically withdrawal of the taxes. And that guarantees that your taxes will be paid in a timely fashion. They'll send an alert email before the money is drawn from your account. But there is a process. You can also go online and pay, as I indicated, either through ACH or by credit card. But for your specific things, I think you need to contact bank how many days they need to process the payment that they'll be withdrawing from your account.
Okay. So my question is, does the town pull the money on the 1st or on the 12th?
If you're signed up, town, they generally do in the middle of the period. So it will be November 5th, around November 5th, 6th time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'd like to move it.
All right. Moved by Mr. Pescetti, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown? Nope, she's not here. Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Next will be our consent agenda. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to bring it forward. I'll bring it out to the public, back to the council for separations.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Pescetti. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on the consent agenda items? Seeing no hands, I will close public portion. Separations. On my left, anyone?
Number 9.
Anyone on my right? Mr. Pescetti?
8.
Anyone else for separations? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote.
Move it.
Motion to move the balance.
We already moved it.
And need a second?
Yes. Okay.
Moved by Mr. Cahill.
Yeah, Mr.
second
Cahill
by-
for the balance, correct.
By Dr. Greenberg.
Yep.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
C8, Mr. Pescetti?
Yeah, my question is, I like the idea that they're going to be scanning the documents. That was way overdue. But how come, like, how do you see the bid? You know, because I have some questions, like, you know, did they, how are they?
State contract. Pavanics we used to go out for bid, and Pavanics has been they've been successful bidder with us for over several years now. Since last year, I believe they signed up with and we are member of this ECNJ group, so the co-op. So we signed up, and the rate they're offering are better than the bid. So that's why the recommendation was taken place.
Okay,
I
yeah,
can
I
send
get
you a
that.
copy of that from ECNJ.
I'm not questioning the award of the bid. I'm questioning the details of the bid. In other words, where do I go to read what the $100,000 is for, and what if they have to, if you need to retrieve something, is there an additional charge? And what are all the different costs?
Okay. So this is an ongoing project. We've been doing this scanning for last at least 6-7 years or more, probably. And what we have been doing is awarding him not to exceed an amount, because we don't know exactly how much money we're going to need for each scanning. So what they do is they collect the boxes from us. There's documents are provided. Department will provide them. They come pick it up. And inside, there's a general idea of the documents. Those documents are scanned, brought back to us. Now, those images and those documents are available online. And there's a cloud-based solution that included with their bid. And I think we're paying annual fees of about $7,000, $7,200. And now, slowly, the amount of document storage is growing every year. And still, we're paying pretty reasonable amount. So the $100,000 is the not-to-exceed amount that you're allowing us, so that as those scanning gets done, we get the number of documents scanned. There's per page charge that they do, and we get the detailed invoices, and we pay against the authorization. And then so the last authorization we're pretty much exhausted. That's why we're asking you for this new authorization.
Okay, I'd like to move it.
Anyone else move it? Mr. Piscatty, you moved it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
And second? Second, Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be C9, Mr. Merwin.
Yeah, don't we have under the ESIP program, isn't a brand-new air conditioning system and heating system in the building here?
Not for this building. They were for civic centers, George Bush Center, and library had separate. Yes, we just finished that. The HVAC system for this building was installed before we went out for ESIP program, but and last year's, I think in the capital, we had gone to discussion and allocated funds. The courtroom needs to be separated because the capacity and the handlers are not providing sufficient, heating or air conditioning throughout the entire building. So there is going to be, this is one of the projects. The other project is also replacing handlers all over throughout the complex. But the EC project didn't include this building.
Okay, so it wasn't in the ESIP, but wasn't it installed about 4 or 5 years ago?
A lot longer than 4 or 5 years. I think it's about
I'm going to
When
say
was
about
it
10
installed?
years ago.
10 years, yeah.
10 years ago, this building received a new heating and cooling system. Unfortunately, it's still a centralized system, and they're having a very difficult time with the balancing on some days, and this courtroom gets very hot. So it should be a standalone system in the courtroom.
All right, and
That's
this
what we're looking-
29.5 is just for the engineering, right? This is not for the work.
design, engineering design,
Design,
and
right.
bid specs.
So with that number, what are we looking at? $400,000, $500,000 job here?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not going to guess the
Well,
amount.
Isn't that a 20% of usually?
Could be. I don't have that. I don't have the idea. Pinder, do you know?
You need a mic, Pinder.
Pinder.
Engineering's usually 20%, right?
Can't say for sure.
All right. If nobody else has any questions, I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Murphy.
Yeah. Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
There are no ordinances for first reading this evening. Discussion ordinances. Discussion ordinance 1, ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge, amending the code of the Township of Old Bridge by including a new Chapter 234 entitled Hotel Use and Occupancy Tax of the Township of Old Bridge.
Council President, if I may, this is to allow us, we're going to have our first hotel opening soon, and the township will be entitled, under the statute, township is entitled to a occupancy tax, but it requires that we adopt the ordinance. The copy of the ordinance is included. If, we would request that council move it up tonight for first reading to allow this quick process, so that when it's complete before the year end, and then we'll be ready for the occupancy tax when the hotel opens.
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Is that a motion to move it out of discussion?
Council President, it's a discussion,
And then we'll
and the
take
council
first
can
reading.
discuss that if they have any
Is
questions.
we brought it out. Is there anyone who has any questions or comments? Mr. Pescetti.
Thanks, sorry, I don't want to delay tonight, but I read the ordinance, and it says over and over again, overnight, overnight, overnight. So my question is, did we get that ordinance from somewhere else, or did we
I
craft it?
believe this is a copy that originally was provided by the state for the adoptions to various towns, and we have received copies from other towns, as well as, I think even the builder had provided a copy to Steve, and then he forwarded to legal department. Mark has prepared the ordinance based on the information he received.
Yeah, so if somebody came into the hotel and stayed only for 4 hours, they wouldn't get
I
the
don't
tax.
think, I don't think there is, the hotels are allowed for 4 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Hey, what do I know? All I know is that
There's specific reason for that not allowed.
there's a
but I'm
lot
not
of
gonna-
hotels on Route 1 and Linden, and, they're all hourly rates, I'm pretty sure.
That sounded funny. Are we
Thank you.
good? Okay. Anyone else for any comments or questions? Mr.
I have a
Merwin?
couple of questions. Would this include Airbnb? I was reading in it that it looked like it might.
Believe any kind of those type of rental eventually will be subject to.
It says other short-term overnight rental.
Now, how would we know that? Does Airbnb register, or?
I think the entire handling is by the State Division of Taxation. The Treasury Department handles that, and then they distribute money. So once we adopt the ordinance takes in effect, they will notify anybody that, I think Airbnb and other companies that has those type of overnight rentals will be able to, collect the tax on that, on their occupancy.
And
Mr. Merwin, not to cut you off, but if you, under tax imposed, under 234-2D, they define the word hotel as hotels, motels, boarding houses, bed and breakfast, any home sharing, short-term rentals, booked using online services. So I think it would be included, but I do understand your question. I don't know the answer, to be honest. I don't know if Airbnbs have to register with the state or the county, or how that works. So that's something, obviously, that we'll have to look into.
So the collection is not handled by the township, it's handled by the state, and then they distribute money to the township. So I'm pretty sure they have already established the process.
Okay. and it's a 3% tax. What does the state statute allow?
That's the max.
That's the max. Okay, very good, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing no hands, then we're going to make a motion to,
We need a motion to
Move
take
it-
it off the discussion
Right.
item.
no.
Miss,
Be a first reading.
We're going to take it off the discussion. Then, once we do that, then there'll be a motion to put it on first reading.
Okay.
It just makes it easier
Right,
when
it
you,
does.
for the clerk to establish that it's been removed instead of doing it in one motion because people get confused. That's my
Right,
preference.
so the first motion is,
I already have it.
she has that to take
Dr.
it.
Greenberg and
Right.
Mr. Rizzoli.
Right, that was
Okay.
the first one.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kale?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes. Now we need the motion
For first
to
reading.
Move it.
bring it for first reading. Yep.
I move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Discussion 2, ordinance extinguishing easements in regard to Manzo Old properties.
Council President, Pinder will provide a detailed explanation, but it's basically removing an drainage easement on a property that we don't need.
Good evening. Yeah, green light.
Okay, sorry. In 2001, Manzo Old Bridge Properties came in before the zoning board for approval of a subdivision for an industrial park. As a part of that subdivision, the applicant proposed a private roadway known as Manzo Boulevard, which was intended to extend from Waterworks Road to Cheesequake Road. The subdivision included several access, utility site, and drainage easements located in the various lots created by the subdivision. To date, only a portion of the Manzo Boulevard, extending 1,400 feet from Waterworks Road, has been constructed, and the drainage system associated with the constructed road has been installed. Since the time of original approval, various amendment approvals have been granted. The most recent approval in July 2018 reconfigured the lots such that the remainder of the Manzo Boulevard and associated drainage improvements will not be constructed. Accordingly, as a condition of the most recent approval, the planning board required that the applicant extinguish, means delete, easements which are no longer required from the final plat. These easements are, there are 4 drainage easements, 1 sanitary sewer easement, 1 site triangle easement at Cheesequake Road. I have spoken with Rakesh Darji, who is the Old Bridge Planning Board engineering consultant, and he's confirmed to me that these easements can be extinguished. One comment I want to make sure there's 1 sanitary sewer easement, which I believe OBMUA will have to extinguish that one.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Small. Do you have anyone have any questions? What is,
You need a motion?
yep,
I'll move it to come out.
okay, moved by Mr. Merwin.
There's no ordinance.
The ordinance is not prepared for
There's no
this.
ordinance, so we
we'll
can't
bring
bring it out.
We'll include in the next agenda as a first reading now.
Corrected, I'll move that to first reading.
First reading next, no?
No. No,
Okay.
no, the attorney.
Mr. Shah,
Yeah,
can we get a copy of that in writing for the next meeting?
Well, that's what we're doing, because we can't take it out of discussion and onto first reading because there's no ordinance been drafted yet. And so you can't go to first reading without it because the public would have the opportunity to review it as well. So we will do that. The ordinance will be done for, I believe, the first meeting in November, which is the 18th, I believe. And so it'll be the normal course, first reading.
Okay. All right, next is discussion ordinance to amend, thank you, to amend Chapter 10, Traffic, Section 10-19, 7B of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge to add 97 Roosevelt Avenue, Lawrence Harbor, New Jersey, front of the house. Clerk.
If I may.
Yes, Stella.
On this one, we would like to move this to first reading tonight, okay, because it is a medical reason why he needs that spot, okay?
Okay, so do I have a motion to take it out of? Okay,
Second.
moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Merwin.
All right, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes, now we need.
Now
for
I
first
need a
reading.
motion for first reading.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker,
Uh-huh,
second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Rizzoli? Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Public comments on any subject matter? Anyone in the public wish to be heard? Forward, please. Good evening.
Thank you. My name is Marianne Sweet. I live at Cheesecake Village. First of all, I'd like to say I was very proud of this town with the bond rating and also with the audit report. Excellent. Keep up the good work. I'm Old Bridge proud. And if I could put in a plug, please, for Cheesecake Village is having an indoor flea market this Saturday at 33 Galewood Drive in Cheesecake Village from 9 to 3. And if there's any vendors, please call 732-583-0447. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the public wish to be heard this evening? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion. Next is discussion D1, best practices inventory of Old Bridge Township 2019. It's okay.
He's not paying attention.
That's quite all right. Okay.
I think I reported in my, thank you, Mayor. So, I reported in my administrative report that we, the best practice inventory, we have scored 42.5. There's a requirement that we must have a discussion item on the agenda for council to, review and discuss that. The entire best practice inventory response is included in the package. Well, you should have that copy of that. And, if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer the questions. There are some questions that generally sometimes doesn't apply to the practice we do. Sometimes we do not want, even though state thinks it's best practice. I wish they adopt half of this best practice for their own operation. I think it would be a better state, but, who are we to say? So sometimes, for example, there is a process that permitted to have electronic payment system. We have not implemented that. And I'm not ready to recommend that as a chief financial officer of the township to get involved with electronic transfer of funds. We do it in many instances, but I don't want to do in every payments yet. We're not prepared for that. And so we are not scoring yes on that. And so, we lose point on that. But we have scored pretty high. It's only required, 30 points is required. We have 42.5. And I think we have implemented a lot of best practices even before state implemented best practice. I'll give you an example. We have for many years now on our all insurance consultants on a fixed price bid. Most towns and a lot of industries, their percentage of premium, which, then it's an incentive for the broker to get more money. Higher the rate, higher the cost, the more premium they, more fees they can charge. We have switched to fixed base for over 10 years now. So, a lot of best practices we've been implementing even before the state came out with these best practice recommendations.
Anyone for a comment? Mr. Pescetti.
Yeah, kudos to Old Bridge and to your administration, Mayor. Good job. Keep up the good work, and proud Old Bridge. Old Bridge proud.
Okay, anyone else on my right? Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, I would like to compliment you, Mr. Shaw, for a job well done, and I know down at Lakeland municipalities, you've gotten awards for your expertise in your fields. And also the comment you made about the state with the best practices, you hit it on the nail with that, and it's very unfortunate. And I know also at the MUA, what they've done, they always put these mandates in, and they're unfunded. So it costs actually the authority more money to do some of the things they need to do, and a lot of it's redundant. So, we always have to be cognizant of every dollar, but then the state comes down and does these things. And when you think of the state, it's very unfortunate. When earlier tonight we talked about some of the accidents that have happened in Old Bridge, and we've been asking the state, I know the mayor, the administration, council have been asking the state for years for a barrier, and they're lackadaisical in their response, and it's sad when you see loss of life, because of that. And also, simple thing of a light. How many years have we been asking for on 34, on 9, and Spring Valley Road? It is absolutely absurd that when they talk about best practices and they put this on municipalities, and like you said, you should look in the mirror. But right now, the lights that we want on 9 and Spring Valley Road, they put the lights up. They're just hanging there for weeks and weeks. What is the reasoning for doing this? You can't even answer it, and you feel bad when we represent the township, the council, and we get calls all the time. And it's very frustrating for us when we said, we want it done just as much as you want it done, and we understand the residents' concerns, and yet the state is just so slow in their response. And yet they have no problem taking your tax dollars all the time. And, then they put in these committees now. I get emails every week. Reach out to the state. We'll help you. Reach out to the state. How many times do I have to reach out to you about the same thing? So it's very frustrating. But I would have to say, in town, you guys are on the mark all the time, identifying, and I think what is really nice that I've seen, every department has come together and has worked as a unit to make this town flourish and be a vibrant community and get the things done that is under our jurisdiction. And I want to thank everyone for their efforts.
Anyone else on my right? On my left? Mrs. Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to put out that I'll be holding a meetup for the families that were affected by the closing of the Cheesequake Elementary School. It is not open to the general public. Obviously, it's just open to the families and students that were affected by the closing of the school. But if someone doesn't hear about it, I kind of just want to put it out there now. They can reach out to me at ebrown@oldbridge.com. Again, that's ebrown@oldbridge.com. As of right now, the flyer is going to be posted to specifically Cheesequake Elementary family Facebook groups. So again, if you don't hear about it and you're hearing about it now and you're not on that group, just reach out to me. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who has any comments on the discussion of the best practices? Okay, seeing no hands, I will also compliment the administration, mayor, and all the departments for doing a really good job. I think it's important that we are aware that the best practices are being done here, and that we do have some concerns that some of them do not necessarily work here in this township. But I do thank you for all the time that you take to make sure that we do things the right way. Next will be council comments. Anyone on my left for a council comment? Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody. You know how I feel. That's all I have to say. Keep it up.
Anyone else on my left for council comment? On my right? Seeing no hands? Oh, okay. Dr.
Say something
Greenberg?
briefly. First of all, happy Halloween. I hope all the kids have fun and they're safe. And also on November 11th, take a moment to reflect for veteran sacrifices. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has a comment? I'll just close them by, I was remiss earlier in not congratulating Captain Joseph Mandola for attending the FBI. Yes, for attending the FBI National Academy, graduating. Thank you very much. It's so, our police department is phenomenal, and they really do go the extra mile and get the education, and thank you so much for all you do. Thank you. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Murphy.
I'd just like to remind everybody in the town, vote for whoever you want on Tuesday, November 5th, in any way you can. Just try to vote. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it. Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill? Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Fischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes, thank you.